right. Good morning, everybody. Nikki Burnett here, Taste Life Nutrition Radio and podcast streaming live on KUHSdenver.com. Where today we have Lane Love. I just love your name, Lane Love. It just works so well. And she is your hypnotherapist, yes. And
Yes.
so, I mean, there's so much that you do that it's hard for me to just so why don't you tell real quick what exactly it is you do?
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
And yeah, I feel the same way about what it is that I do.
I know.
There's a lot of different layers there. And like all of us, we all have so many cool layers to us, and we wear many different hats. And so I am an RTT practitioner. So rapid transformational therapy, which is based in hypnotherapy, and that was created by Marissa Peer, and she is absolutely phenomenal at what it is that she does, and she's also just a really wonderful teacher and mentor.
Nice.
So I work with that, and I work with energetics, and I work on spiritual layers as well, and a little bit on the physical, because that's where I started. And as we all know, we are not separated. Like what happens in our physical life affects our emotional, our psychological, our mental selves, and so I really love addressing all of the different layers in the work that I do.
Awesome. Very good. I agree. And we've been hitting a lot on the physical, mental, and emotional and the interconnectedness of it. So this is going to be such a good conversation. I'm super excited about it. I'm trying to calm down a little bit. I've, always running just a little bit late. So I'm like, okay, we're here, be calm. As always, though, before we get too deep into all of the goodness, we start the show with gratitude, because gratitude can change the world. And so first things first, what are you grateful for?
I'm grateful for this moment. I'm grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful for this beautiful day. I'm grateful for my son. I am grateful for my life. I mean, I could go on, and it is actually a skill, a practice that I continue to deepen, because I know we say it's important, but when you actually do it on the daily, it does, as we hear over and over again, it does transform your life.
It does. It's so important. And sorry, excuse me. No matter what our situation is, we always have something to be grateful for. I fully believe that. Things can get really, really hard, and sometimes it can be hard to find that thing to have gratitude for, but as simple as, just when we were jumping on a few minutes ago, your comment was, "Oh, son, I love you." And that I feel the same way every time that the sun is out. You look outside, the sky is blue, and the sun is warm, even when it's cold outside, and it makes me really happy, gives me the best warm feeling. So I agree. There's so many good things to be grateful for. I think I'm grateful for good friends. We're going to get to go for the weekend to see some friends of ours who is turning 40. Our friend is turning 40. And so grateful to have good friends and good people. We're going to go see them and hang out with them for the weekend. And I'm grateful for this place that we're in. I hit on this a little bit last week, but I think that we're in a situation now where we're prayerfully about to start seeing some big changes in our healthcare system, and I'm excited to see where that's going to go and what's going to happen, because there are big changes that need to happen. So I'm excited about that. So I'm grateful for where we are. All right, so let's do this. Let's start with the basics. You said you started with the physical, so let's hear about your story, where you came from, and then kind of move us through, what excites you now, what motivates you, what are all the amazing things that you do to guide people today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll just weave in, returning back to gratitude, and just touching on that sometimes it does feel really, really hard to find something to feel grateful for, because it feels like nothing in your life is working. And I felt like that for a lot of my life. And I found it really hard to find things to be grateful for. I mean, like truly grateful for. I mean, I could always go to, well, I can turn on the taps, like, and water comes out, and that's something that I could genuinely be grateful for, but it didn't necessarily reach my heart. And so that's where I reiterate that, like, practicing gratitude really, really is important, because I felt really angry about a lot of my life, and I felt like I got the short end of the stick, you know. I grew up with a single teenage mama who had 4 kids, and obviously well, maybe not obviously, but she didn't have the skills, tools, talents, and abilities to really create a successful or safe environment for us all. And there was a lot of different kinds of trauma and chaos, and I've experienced all different manners of uncomfortable scenarios of abuse, um, violence, not having a lot of money, not having a lot of options. So I've experienced all those things in my life, as many of us have. But and moving forwards to, like, why it is that I do what I do, a lot of it has to do with that. A lot of healers are seeking healing themselves. And that certainly was true for me. I was seeking healing for myself, and it was also just a natural inclination. I was always the person that people went to for, a loving ear or advice or a shoulder to lean on. So it was also just a natural part of my makeup. And then an insatiable curiosity.
Yeah.
When you're talking about changes in healthcare, health has always been really interesting to me, and getting to the root cause of something. And even though I studied science in university, I didn't feel like the answers that I was looking for were provided within that framework. And so that led me to studying more alternative forms of answers, and led me into first I was a shiatsu therapy, and the foundation there was traditional Chinese medicine, as well as, like, biology, physiology, bioethics, so a lot of cool Western perspectives, as well as the Eastern perspective. And the more that I learned about that, on top of having lived in Taiwan by this point,
nice.
And being introduced to traditional Chinese medicine from an experiential standpoint, I was really, really curious as to the many thousands of years old wisdom tradition that they were sharing, and how fascinating it was that they differentiated so many different symptoms, and had a lot of different kind of questions, and a lot of different kind of outcomes than we have in allopathic perspectives.
Yep.
So that just sent me on a really cool journey of being introduced to many different kinds of wellness perspectives, and studying with a lot of different masters around the world. And so that led me from body to energetics, to mind to spirit. And I love acknowledging all of those different aspects, and working with myself and with my clients in that regard, and really, really holistically. We're these super, super cool, interesting beings that have so many layers to us, and even just not our life right now, but also our past parallel lives, also our ancestral lineage. I mean, we can look at very, very many different factors that are influencing our current realities, whether that's your mental or physical health, or, like, searching for or reaching for, your dreams.
Yeah, I love that. You hit on so much of what I love, that I really can't stop talking enough about. But when you're talking about, past lives and lineage and that kind of thing, this is, at least for me, this is all, epigenetics. And I love talking about epigenetics. I love the power that epigenetics gives us. But epigenetics is who we are today is influenced by our, what they say today at this point is 7 generations behind us, right? And then what we have the opportunity of doing, well, what we do, and so we have the opportunity of using it well or not, but is then influencing 7 generations ahead of us for those of us who are having babies. And so it's this amazing God-given gift of accountability and free will, as far as I'm concerned, because we make so many of our decisions. We have the ability to impact our own future to a very large degree, right? I would say for the most part. And so it's this, I guess, though, if I were to take a step back, though, because I didn't used to see it this way, I would always see it as, okay, it's our future, it's our future. And I had another colleague who's like, well, you look at it as the future, I see it from the past. And so it's so amazing because what we have then the opportunity of doing is working with someone like you to help us to address those things from our history and make it better for today and make it better for the future.
And make it better for the past, which is a little bit of a mind
Yeah.
a mind twister, right? Because
Yeah.
we're really taught to think like in a straight line, linearly. And but time is not that, and the effect that we can have is this big wonderful ripple that goes in all directions. It's not just one way. And the more that you can lean into the curiosity of that concept, or actually that reality, it's not really a concept, but the more easy I think it is, or the more interesting it becomes to really examine yourself and step into responsibility for how it is that you're being and what it is you could be doing to create change within yourself and therefore within your lineage, and but also getting to notice that that also ripples out into your environment, and out into the world. So you just working on you is not just, it is a phenomenal contribution that you could make to really creating and crafting the world that you're wanting to see.
So expand on that for me a little bit. I would love to hear more about that, and when you're talking about the ripple effects and creating the world that you want, which is so powerful.
Yeah, it is so powerful. And that's where the more spiritual element, for me anyways, that's my perspective, comes in, is really sitting with that I am a spirit, I am a soul, I am an eternal soul, I am a piece of God. And I'm having this experience as Lainey, this human experience. And just like even sitting with that, wow, that is that's beautiful, and it's huge, and the the outcome of that thought for me is, wow, I'm so much more capable than I think myself to be. But also, if I am that and then everything is that, then we're all from the same thing. Then we're all one. So if I do something and I'm all one, then what I do is affecting everything else because we're all one. It can't not be that. And the more that I began to accept that as my reality, as the reality, then the easier it came for me to take responsibility and to really understand that if I change, then the people around me also change and my reality changes. And the more that I step into how it is that I'm interacting with something or with someone, I mean, you can even take it a step further as the practice of Ho'oponopono and like the great late Dr. Hugh Len reminded us of, like that everything is consciousness and that we have a responsibility when we're interacting with anything from your table to your chair to be present with it and to clear it, to clean and clear it, which is what the prayer of Ho'oponopono is. It is to constantly clear, and that feeds back into that idea or knowingness that we're all connected, and that our prayers and our intentions clear, which makes a difference, which helps to elevate the consciousness of humanity as a whole and the planet as a whole.
So explain to me when you say clear.
Yeah, clear. So it's just that. It's just that we have these experiences, and often we call it karma. I think that that's correct, right? I have this experience where I have a thought or I perform an action, and that goes against kind of like unity. It goes against love. So I think I have a judgment of somebody, like, oh God, what they said is so dumb. I can't believe that they said that. Okay, that's a judgment against someone. So I actually have just created karma. So I've created now an energetic experience, a spiritual experience that I have to clear because I've just gone against love. I've put a barrier in between me and love and unity. Mm-hmm. And so now I have to go in there. Well, I don't have to, but I choose to. Mm-hmm. And forgive myself. So that's the prayer of Ho'oponopono, where it's really a wonderful, simple tool for being able to do that. Thank you to myself for noticing that I have just been in judgment. Mm-hmm. Please forgive me. So that's like me, I forgive myself. Thank you, and I love you. Or you could even just say, I love you. Mm-hmm. And that returns you back to that space of love, and that clears that karma that you've just created. So we can do that with anything and everything.
I love that you use the example of judgment, because I think it's one of those things that is a really, it's almost, I feel like a lot of us today sit in this place of judgment and don't even realize that that's what we're doing. It's been a practice of mine, everything that we do as a practice is really try to step out of that, and I control myself and everybody does their thing, and and trying not to be judgy. There was a book, and it's a personality type that is called Judgy, I can't remember what it was right now, but anyway, my sweet husband, I'm always like, judgy. Like, come on, judgy. And so it is, and there are a lot of things that I do that are not perfect, right? So that's just one of those things that I really try to work on. It's not my place to judge. And when I do, I think I usually am aware of that and try to step back and step away from it, and for me, it's, asking for forgiveness. Yes, I forgive myself, and I talking to God and talking to Christ and saying, okay, I thank you for pointing this out for me, and I see it, and let's move on from it. But I think it is important to have that awareness around what what our actions can do out beyond us because of our energetics, but then also what it can do to us. So if we're holding on to these things, that is going to create huge problems. And I think it then will become the physical, right? It becomes, we hold on to things, and it becomes the physical ailments very often that we see. And for me, I work with the physical every day, day in and day out, and if I don't ask the questions about where they are today mentally, emotionally, where they were, in their past mentally and emotionally, my work a lot of times can't be done because the mental and emotional, the things that we hold on to aren't addressed, so the nervous system just remains out of whack, so it just makes it hard.
Yeah, it really does, and that's a great place to even sit with all of these different concepts that we've been talking about like past lives, about where we are in our habits, and being in judgment. Okay, is that actually a personality type, or is that a habit? and how
Right.
far along my lineage has that been passed down, and where's the opportunity for me to sit with this karma and to clear it, and then what's the effect that it has on my life directly, whether that is physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and then what effect does that have on my relationship. So even just with that one like really simple thing, we could actually start to see, when we look at the parts of being in that practice, in that behavior, that we can see all the different areas in which it affects our lives, and then we can move into like relationship. Well, if I'm in judgment of you, then how does that affect my relationship? And then what does that do? And that can escalate to violence. It can escalate to, dissolving really important relationships, because we're sitting in a pattern of disruption of judgment. So it's really, I love getting to really like deep dive into those ideas and unpack them so we can start to unwind them. And the more that you are aware of what those things are, then the less power they have over you, and the more change that you can start to create in your life.
Yeah. So I'm assuming that this is what you're doing with your clients, right? You're helping them to unpack their junk.
Yeah, we all have it, right?
Oh yeah.
We all have it. I was my first client. Like,
right.
Oh, where is my stuff? Oh my God, there's like
Yeah.
100 layers to this one. I thought I was done with this one already, but yeah, and that'll come up for you. Sometimes if it's an ancestral pattern, there can be layer upon layer upon layer to go in and start to like unpack what those things are. And some things can be really, really quick to clear.
So how do you do that? What are we talk there are different modalities in how people can help others go in and clear and figure out what the layers are and how to unwrap, unwind the layers and address them and let them go, right? So what is it, what's your, I assume there probably you have several things that you do, would be my guess.
Yeah, a lot of different tools, and just to like celebrate all of those amazing modalities out there. The great news is that everything does work. It's just making sure that you're using the right thing at the right time, or more often than not, we need more than one things, because things do, memories, habits, patterns get stuck in us physically. They get stuck in us energetically. And they get stuck within our emotions, but that also feeds into that energetic aspect of us as well. So there are a lot of different layers, and that's why all the things work, which is so amazing. And sometimes it's best to go at it from a physical perspective first, because we're not quite emotionally ready to dive into the big emotions that are associated with that. And that being said, you don't necessarily have to revisit really traumatic incidences to be able to clear what the emotions are. So really, it does depend on like a case-to-case, person-to-person basis. So the most important thing to do for anybody that you can do on your own every day, all the time, is just pay attention. I mean, the tools, actually, after studying for 20 years plus, because I'm always enrolled in a program working with a teacher, coach, mentor, always, because I'm just insatiably curious, but also it's a part of my responsibility as a professional to continue to develop myself. But what I've learned after all of those amazing educational experiences and deep dives is that it's pretty like simple. The processes are really, really simple. It's just creating the new habits don't feel like they are.
Yeah, it can be hard.
Yeah. Notice what comes up, like moving back to judgment. That's great that you notice that. You notice I'm judgy. But and then take it one step further. Instead of just like accepting that that's who I am. I'm just a judgy person because, well, technically I am. I would be that too. I'm a Virgo, which tends to be a very like judgmental sign. So I would have the out, right? Like, oh, well, that's just who I am. I've come in here like that. I just accept that about myself. No, you don't have to. You'd be like, okay, I recognize that I am a pretty judgmental person. And maybe I'm just like judging people inside my mind, but I'm still doing it and it's still having that effect. Whether you're saying it out loud and sharing it with other people or just doing it like within your own headspace, it's still pretty much having the same effect. So that's important to understand and know, but you don't have to own that as a quality or characteristic. You can choose to change that and evolve into something different.
Which is fascinating because I think we all have excuses, right? I have excuses. Everybody has excuses. It's just sort of part of who we are. But we also have the ability to make up our mind and not use the excuses, which is not easy. So this is not me being judgy because I have a hard time with creating new habits. But I also know and realize and recognize that I have the ability. I just gotta do it.
And I'll challenge you on that. I'll challenge you to change that affirmation to instead of I have a hard time doing this, is I've decided to change my mind on this. I actually find it really, really easy and natural.
I love that.
And the more that you start to say that to yourself, the easier it's going to become. And that's where we move back to like the tools and steps actually they're simple. But the ease of change, I don't know, that really depends on a lot of different things. And we have a lot of like inner pushback within us, that resistance, and those are just patterns. And so that looks like resistance, it looks like a temper tantrum, it looks like anger and frustration, it looks like, oh, I can't do it, it's just who I am, excuses. And if you're up for it and you're really interested in experiencing something different, then you decide that you're going to show up and do the work.
So what are the modalities? How do you work with your clients?
Again, it really depends on the person and what it is that they're trying to overcome. But for the most part, like that is it, is sitting down with somebody and just listening. So I like listening for what are the words that they're using, what are the patterns that I notice just from listening, but also, okay, where are you and where is it that you want to go? And then even examining those statements within yourself. So moving back to where we started, the very beginning of this conversation was with gratitude. So maybe you're not even in gratitude when we're talking about that, like, where are you part. So we examine where are you and where you want to go. And then most people, where they want to go is, again, a part of like a pattern or an installed belief as to what it is that they think is possible instead of actually what they really want.
That can be a hard one to, I think, unwind and really dig into. I find that a lot is having a hard time really understanding what it is that you need or want. I'm not really sure what I'm saying. I know that I have been asked these questions and I'm like, I don't really know. And it's sometimes hard to figure out what it is that you need or you want. You just know that you need to move here, but you don't know how to do it. Does that make sense? Sort of?
Yes, that's it. That's exactly a lot of the big challenge for a lot of people. And that's where we're stuck in our minds because well, there was the differentiation between like need and want. And your dream isn't necessarily something that you need, but it's also something that you can't live without. So it just depends on like what words you're using and what words we have accepted as like these are the words that we use. So it's like you should or you need or you want. And those aren't actually the most helpful words. It's you're here with something written on your heart. You're here with a mission, you're here with a purpose, you're here with desires, you're here to contribute something that only you can do. And that comes from you stepping into and allowing yourself to really dream really big. Like, what is that? Like, what is that without the constraints of what my parents said was acceptable, within what my country says is possible, within what my religion says that I can or can't do, without all of those constraints. If you're just you, what is it that you want? Like, I want to ride a purple dinosaur across the sky. Like, that is what I want. If I just sit with what I am, that's actually the first thing that comes out of my mouth. Amazing. Let's just start to explore, like, what are the things that starts to come out of your mouth? What are the images that start to form in your mind? What are the feelings or sensations that start to come up? Because those are just all clues as to which direction that your heart, that your soul is wanting to lead you in, so that you can get to where you want to go. So you don't always, so that feeling of emptiness, or that feeling of, but like, this can't be it, I was meant for more, you can start to like fill that space, because that's the you coming here to be you.
Mm-hmm. I love that. When from my perspective, and I'm talking more physical perspective, right? Is I always say, and I say it on the show all the time, but it's true that when we don't feel great, then we have a hard time being who we're supposed to be. When we don't feel good, when we have symptoms or we are sick, we have we I think, and I know that, just like you said, we all have things that we're supposed to do in this life, and things that only each of us has the ability to do and are put here to do. And so what does that look like? But then what I see all the time, especially as of late, just this really really complex type of chronic situation that just sort of stops you in your tracks, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a hard thing to then want to say, okay, I have all these big things to do, but I can't even do it. I can hardly walk, let alone go do these big things. And so it's whereas I come in from the physical aspect, okay, let's see how much we can get done, because what we need to do is get you to a place where you can go fly, right? Go ride that purple dragon, right? And what I love too, though, is, or what, not what I love, but what I always am trying to make clear to people is, because we are not one dimensional, and because there's so much to unpack physically, mentally, and emotionally, that we have to have our team who can help us to do both the physical, the mental, the emotional, the biomechanical, whatever it might be, in order to then push us forward, so we have that ability. And I think we all need that. I need my team. You need your team. You have your mentors and your people, and we're all moving toward that, but we've got to find those people who we trust, who we know are there to guide us and to help us, because we can't do it on our own. I don't think any of us can do all the things that we want to do on our own.
Yeah, I don't think so either. We all have our piece in the puzzle, and the puzzle is made up of, in this case, millions of pieces, and each person has their role and their function. And it goes back to those expectations of like what you think that it should be. I love using the example of like the cleaner. Okay, well, we recognize Elon Musk as somebody that has accomplished many things in his life, and that is a wonderful, amazing example of like what's possible. And none of those things would have been possible if he didn't have that team, all the way down to the cleaner. The cleaner is one of the most important people at every one of those sites, because if things aren't efficient and clean and in their place, then other people can't get their jobs done because they're distracted by all of the clutter or the smell or the debris or whatever that is. But nobody is thinking, well, I'm the cleaner, like that's not big enough, it's not good enough, it's not I'm not making a contribution. And so part of that, like uncovering the truth of who you are and the contribution that you're here to make, like your bigger mission. It doesn't, not everybody's here to be Elon Musk.
Right.
But Elon Musk can't be Elon Musk without all of those people creating and making up his team. So it doesn't matter who you are, your mission is so important. It doesn't matter what you think of your role. It's so important. So it's re-examining and redefining what those roles are.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things that you talk about is subconscious reprogramming, which is, I know some of this we've hit on a bit, but I would love for you to dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, so subconscious reprogramming to me, for me, has been one of the most important, effective ways to create the change that I was looking to create in my own life and in the life of my clients. So it's pretty simple. You just go in. So your subconscious mind is recording everything. It's the record keeper. But it's also what is controlling what is happening, what you're manifesting using a popular word, or creating in your life, or what you're attracting into your life, because that's the program. So going back to what we're talking about, like ancestral programming or epigenetics, a lot of that stuff is all there in your subconscious mind. So that's why when you're like, but I want to lose 20 pounds and I'm doing all this stuff, and why isn't it working? I'm exercising, I'm doing this, because your subconscious program is that I am this weight. And no matter what I do, I'm always this weight. That's the program. So even though you're consciously choosing something and you're even taking action steps, it's not working out. It's because you get to shift what that program is. So when you're finding yourself really stuck on something, regardless of the effort that you're putting in, the next step for you to take would be to do some subconscious reprogramming, or actually the first. To me now, I'm learning it's more like the first step to take is the subconscious reprogramming. So then all the action steps that I'm going to take thereafter actually are creating the results that I'm wanting to see.
So what would that look like?
What would that look? It's actually pretty simple. So you can go into the state of hypnosis. You can use hypnosis, but more and more and more I work with emotions. So it's just recognizing, like, okay, when I talk about losing 5 pounds, I feel like, gosh, I notice like my heart starts to feel like I have like a 20-pound weight on it. And I notice that I feel really afraid when I just say that, when I say those words. Well, that is a cue, because your body is always giving you cues. It's just that we haven't actually learned to pay attention to what they are, as to what it is that you need to clear to have the result that you want to have. So if the results that I have when I say I want to lose 5 pounds is this feeling of contraction within my body, then no matter what I do, I'm not going to produce the results that I want, because of the physical state that I'm in. All of a sudden I've gone into contraction. So you've heard probably many times before that you're either in a state of expansion or contraction. And expansion is the creative state. It's the state in which we allow, in which we receive, in which we manifest. And contraction is basically when we are blocking, when we're keeping ourselves from having the results that we want to have, because we're basically just in a state of protection.
Interesting.
Fear.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can. Yeah. You just say it and you can feel it, right? Expansion.
Yeah.
And contraction. I mean, it's a I mean, for me anyway, when you're talking about it, as you talk about it, I feel it, which is so
Yes.
interesting.
Oh.
And I know something about myself, and it just made me think about this. I very often walk around and sit like this. I don't know if you can see,
Mm.
but I've got my arms crossed, and it's fascinating to me that I've had people comment on that before. It's like you're closing yourself off, and that would be contraction if that's what I'm doing. I don't know if that's what I'm doing. To me, it's also comfortable, but I've had people comment on that before, so it's kind of this interesting. Um, it's just interesting for me that I feel it when you say it. You know.
Yeah, so that's something for you to get to look at. Okay, when you cross your arms, well, are you always placing your arms in the same space, in the same spot? So is it more like, is it covering more like your root chakra or your sacral chakra or your solar plexus, or is it covering a particular organ?
Mm-hmm.
Is it like what's happening? What do you notice? So that it would be interesting to notice, because as I just said, everything is a clue.
Mm-hmm.
So it just depends on like how curious we want to get and what kind of detectives we want to be as to what we're going to uncover from the clues that we're always giving ourselves. It's just taking the time to listen and to notice and to figure out what it is that our body is telling us, because it's a feedback mechanism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, we're sort of speak the same language, just sort of, um, I always am trying to help people understand, especially when I'm working with the super chronic and complicated, is that your symptoms are there for a reason. And,
Yeah.
And when we go and, sometimes we do need to mask them in order to get through life. But the goal, however, is not to mask our symptoms, but to understand them, to listen to them. I fully believe that our body its ultimate goal is to keep us alive, right? And so when we learn how to speak its language, right? So interesting that we're living in this body, and so often we don't know what it's talking about. It's so fascinating to me, right? Like, this is my body. Why don't I understand it? And I get that a lot. It's the why does food hate me? Why does my body hate me? Why am I always fighting my body? When if we take it back and hopefully there's that sun. The sun's got you. Yeah, I know. But if we can, as hard as it might be, go in and appreciate our body for keeping us alive, and then say, okay, what is it that all of this junk that's going on that my body is doing, what is it that I can do to support it so it doesn't have to work so hard to keep me alive? Because that's really what's happening. It is fighting and struggling to keep you breathing and here and doing what you're supposed to do. And it is learning to speak its language, learning to understand what it's trying to tell us.
Well, that's the stuff that we should be learning in school, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
How do our bodies actually work?
Yes.
And what do they try to tell us? What's the language of your body? And not all this math business, unless that's what's written on your heart, because math is the language of the universe, and it's really important. But yes, I think understanding our physical vessels is paramount importance, actually. So
yeah, totally agree. Another thing that you talk about, which is very cool, is integrating challenges.
Yeah, I love, I have a whole new attitude around challenges and obstacles. It's like, yes,
awesome.
This has come up. That has become, now it's not always the initial reaction.
Yes.
But it quickly becomes like that, oh, this is amazing. Now this is the next thing that I'm having to work on, because this was a shadow. This was something that held a lot of power over me. And now it's come up, because typically my response to this was to think of it as a challenge, or to shrink, or to be afraid. And now that it's coming up again, I have this new opportunity to meet it and say, no, not this time.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to meet you and I am going to clear whatever this stagnation is, this fear within myself. And so a great way to do that, because we have these challenges every day, at least I do.
I do.
I come up against
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
every day, is just to, one, just start to do that. If you just started to do that in the challenges that you're meeting, so somebody cuts you off in traffic, or you get an unexpected bill, or I don't know, you get served papers, or like all these things that we find really, really scary.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're confronted by somebody that you've been trying to avoid. Like, you just like to start to say, yes, yes, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for me to meet something that I have been avoiding or afraid of. Because if you say that to yourself, you'll notice that likely your response is, yeah, I have.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm really being honest with myself,
Mm-hmm.
I have been trying to avoid having this experience. And now if I meet it with that, even just knowing that I've been trying to avoid it, all of a sudden I feel a little bit different about it. And then if I can meet it and feel like ready,
Mm-hmm.
or even curious, maybe you can't get quite too excited yet,
Yeah.
but even like curious, like, okay, like I wonder what could be here for me, or I wonder how I could respond differently to this. I wonder how I could come from courage, or I could stand a little taller. I wonder how I could do these things instead of moving into fear. You'll notice you feel a little bit different. And then if you can just even just sit with, I can't do any of those things. I I want to poo my pants, or I want to vomit. Like, I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid. I don't even know what I'm gonna do. Just even sit with that instead of just trying to ignore the fact that you feel so afraid, or push it down. Just even sit with the fact that you're afraid and just acknowledge, okay, I'm afraid. I am afraid. I'm acknowledging I feel afraid. So instead of saying I am afraid, which is a form of affirmation, just acknowledge that I notice that I'm feeling afraid. I notice that I'm feeling afraid. I notice that I'm experiencing fear. Even just shifting that language, it's pretty simple, but it has a tremendous effect on then what happens next.
It's fascinating when you say it's simple, because it is simple, but knowing what to do and how to say it. How do you?
Yeah.
It would be, which is why having a coach is important. But a quote unquote coach. But if you don't know, what you're saying. You're like, well, how do I say it differently? That's the stuff that I find so fascinating. That is truly simple, because I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. But then but how do you know that? Well, you have to find somebody who can help you know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know it.
Yeah.
All this information is out there. That's a great thing about living in the age of information, right?
Yeah.
It's all out there. You can have access to all of it. It's just we work with our teachers, mentors, coaches, therapists, whoever it is that we're choosing to work with, because they have, at least from my perspective, I like to work with people who have the experiential knowledge, so not just the information, but they have lived it, and they have practiced it and tried and true, and then offer different perspectives or possibilities for how to work through something. Like for me, that was just something that I noticed within myself. Oh, wait a minute. I am statements, those are affirmations. Oh, when I say I am, I notice actually I feel different in my body. If I say I am experiencing fear right now, I feel like it sits with me a little bit more. But if I just say, oh, I notice I'm having the feelings of fear, it doesn't feel as heavy when I say that, rather than when I say I am having fear right now. I am feeling fear right now. So that just comes like with practice. with like getting to try on different possibilities to see what it is that's going to work best for you. And it requires effort, which is something that maybe some people aren't really willing to do. It's like, oh, well, that's going to take like time and I'm going to have to like do something about it. And that's where, well, how much do you really want to change? Right.
So you made me think of, what we do a lot when we are diagnosed with something is we take on that diagnosis as an identity. And when you just, to me, it's kind of similar, and tell me if I'm way off base here, but when I say I am fearful, or I am this diagnosis, it is continuing that affirmation, whereas if it's, I'm experiencing, I see, now I don't even know how to say it, but I feel the experience of fear, right?
Yeah.
Or I feel the experience of this condition, right? Am I saying it right? See, it's hard for me to.
Yeah, well, first of all, there isn't a right. Like, there isn't a right. So we can let ourselves off the hook right there. There isn't like a right or a wrong because everybody's different. It's what feels right within you, with that resonance within yourself. But yes, I love that you brought that up because that is so important. If you don't want to have it in your life, don't identify as it or with it. I am having the experience of this, not I am this, not I have it, because you will have it. And I know it feels like such a silly thing. I know when I first heard that, I was like, whatever. It's so dumb. It's so dumb, or it doesn't even make a difference, or like, come on, we're gonna get that nitpicky. Like, it seems a little much. And it's true. It's true. So those are just like the little things that you can do that are simple shifts that you can start to make in your own life that don't cost anything. And those are like the hard things to do. That's the stuff that nobody can do for you. Like, I can't do any of this work for my clients. I can coach you, I can guide you, I can give you suggestions. But at the end of the day, you have to do all of the work, and it's a day-to-day, moment-to-moment practice. As in, like, you just noticed, like, oh, wait a minute, I can bring this to a diagnosis. Absolutely, please do bring it towards a diagnosis, because you are not that. You are having the experience of that, and now I choose to experience something else. And so then you begin to focus on having a different experience. I choose to experience perfect health. I've had this experience, and now I'm choosing to move into perfect health. I am claiming perfect health, and knowing that the power of your voice and the power of your choice, once you actually really begin to understand the power that lies there within, wow, it really is a game changer.
I love that. I love that. I think I would really like for you to kind of walk through one of your favorite clients, and what that looks like. Obviously, what happened, what the end, how things ended up. Just I think for the experience of understanding how you're working with people, but also it's always fun to hear good outcomes.
My favorite, as I was just like filing through my brain as you're saying that, and there isn't one that comes to mind. It's because it's more the process or the unfoldment, which is the most exciting to me. I don't actually really care about like the results. I as in like what happens for you in your life. Like, if you want to create $1 million, and when you create $1 million, I mean, that's exciting. But what is the most exciting part for me is witnessing you as you change, as you become the person that creates $1 million, 10 million, $100 million. That's the exciting part for me, is watching as you become that, not as you receive the
Yeah,
result.
yeah, yeah. I think that's it's important to. Well, I don't know. I think that the best part of that when you reach that goal, because they're always going to be, you're like, okay, I'm here, now what, right? There's always going to be the more, the more, the more. But the I think for, as say, if I were your client, the experience of going through that and being able to look back, because I think that this is my favorite thing, one of my favorite things about life anyway, because life is not easy, but being able to look back and say, now I get it, right? Mm-hmm. Now I understand the why behind it. Now I know what the journey at least was up until this point, and why it was difficult, and how I have grown and changed and become a better person, the person who I'm supposed to become through all of the junk, because that's what it does. You know, the junk creates the character, the growth, the opportunity, all of these things that life brings to us once we get through it. And there's always going to be more. So kind of like what you said is, you know, what's the next challenge? Because there's always going to be challenges that are then going to push you into being this person that you are supposed to be, right?
Yeah, and that's the cool thing, is in watching people along the journey, what used to floor them or stop them or stump them, as we continue to work together and they start to live the practices and integrate the practices that they're learning within their day-to-day life, and they just become that. And all we get to is celebrating. Wow, did you notice that this is who you are now? Did you notice this is how you reacted? Did you notice this is what you created? And noticing and witnessing their evolution is the best part. It's the best part.
Yeah, I totally agree. My favorite thing when I'm working with clients is the light bulb moments, the aha moments. It's the holy smokes, now I'm getting it, or the holy smokes, I can look back and see where I was, and now I see where I am now. And it's really just the most fun to watch that growth. It's, you know, it's amazing.
It is amazing, because that's my job, is to make myself obsolete. So I'm a parent to all the people.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
It's go out and be on your own, and use the tools on a daily basis in your own life, and share them with other people too.
Yeah. So it's so true. That's, again, you know, I keep kind of going back to, you know, my experiences with clients and patients, but it really is, you know, and I tell them this from the beginning. This is my goal for you, is to take everything that you learn about you, about your body, about everything that is around whatever it is that we're working on. You're going to take it for the rest of your life. This is not for today. This is not for tomorrow. This is for the rest of your life. And the impacts that it will have on those around you, whether it's your family, your children, your future children, it's big. It's really big. And I know, I so get when people are just really caught up in the, I feel so bad and I have so much going on and this is just where I am right now. But knowing that we can move out of this. It might take some time and some baby steps, but we can move out of it. Um, it's really beautiful.
Amen to that, because we have all been there. Well, and I've definitely been there, where I've had to crawl up out of the gutter several times, and I did not think that I could, and I did not want to. At least once, and I didn't see that it could get any better, and it can, and it does, and you just get to find more within yourself, or reach out and ask for help, and know that it's possible, that there's more within you than you have yet to discover, and there is so much beauty to be experienced.
Agreed. So, is there anything that you would like to hit on that we have not hit on?
I think we have gone to a lot of fun places, actually. Yeah.
Good.
It's been a really wonderful discussion. I really enjoyed it. I trust that the listeners have too, that have gotten some value and some practical tools and some curiosity into being able to notice or be interested in noticing um, themselves, their bodies, their cues and clues, so that they can start to unravel the mysteries within themselves and make the change that they're looking to change in their lives.
Yeah, I love that, and I love that you have your kitty cat with you.
And
And I love that you started this with curiosity, and the voracious curiosity. I'm the same way, and I hope that everybody is, because there's so much to learn. Even in the hard stuff, there's so much to learn, and so much for us to build on. We talked a little bit about science, and science is such a beautiful thing, but if we don't build off of the science that we currently know, then it's no longer science, right? It's what you want it to be.
Yeah. It's not. Science to me is like ever unfolding curiosity. It's asking questions and exploring what those answers and possibilities could be. That's why I went into science, because I thought it was the coolest thing. Wow, we get to ask all these questions, and then we get to discover whether or not these questions are right or wrong, or whether it's gray, or whether it's like multidimensional. That's so cool. I don't think it's ever supposed to be like stagnant. That's not what the spirit of science is. Not from my perspective, anyway.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and that's where I think that we sit in a little bit of a problem. Is we get not me. At least I don't think so. But there are those who get stuck in this is what we know and this is how it is, and there's no other way around it, when it's just not the case. And so we have to be curious and open to, oh, we now know more, so what I thought I knew is either totally wrong, or it could be mostly wrong, or it could be partly wrong, or maybe it's still right on. But we have to be open to that, and open to the curiosity, and not let our heads and our agendas get in the way. And anyway, I'm kind of a little off topic now. It's just sort of sitting on me because I see it so much. It just makes me a little bit crazy. But again, going back to where we're headed, my prayer is that we're moving into a place where we're going to start to see really cool, good science and curiosity that is what is the bigger piece of what we need as far as healthcare is concerned. Well, as far as all of it, but I'm in healthcare, and I just see so much good and so much bad, right? But that's everywhere.
That's because there's people involved.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
And that is what it means to be a people, is that we are so full of contradictions, and that's why it's so important to, from my perspective anyways, is to continually to work on yourself, so that you can be the best version of yourself and make the contribution that you're here to make. Instead of judgments.
Yes, I love it. And we're right back to where we started. So anyway, thank you so much. This has been a ton of fun. Tell people how they can find you.
You can find me at lainey.com, LAINNE. So blessed, so lucky to have my website be my name. And you can find me on social media at Lainey Love, and you can send me a DM, or you can register for my masterclass. And I look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. And of course, you can find me in all the places: Taste Life Nutrition, social media, website, the whole thing. You can fill out a free assessment online. I'll reach out to you. We'll chat about it, see if I can help, or if I know somebody amazing who can, because I obviously know a lot of really amazing people who do really great work, and are here as everybody I've ever brought on is truly here to serve and to give, and they have their own story that they've had to, climb through to get where they are, and are doing amazing things. So I'm blessed to have this show and be able to meet and know people who are doing awesome work. So find me at Taste Life Nutrition, find me at Immuno Wellness, and we'll see you next week. I can't believe it's almost Thanksgiving. So next week is not Thanksgiving, so we'll be here. But anyway, let us know if there are things that you want to hear about, chat about, talk about, learn about, whatever it might be. I'm here to serve, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Have a great weekend. Thank you. See you later. Stick with me 1 second.